So what did you miss at Jubilee today? Well, you missed a large gathering, a lunch. That always brings people out. You missed a fantastic choir. You missed reveling in the arrival of autumn. You missed old friends, new friends, strangers who might become friends. You never know. You missed being with us as we heard a passage from Proverbs, chapter 31, verse 10, in which a mother describes to her son what a capable wife could be like. We just heard that, and then I left that alone. Until the end of the service, when I offered a contemporary understanding of what those words are really getting at. You can find those words on our Facebook page if they interest you. So that happened. Built a little tension, had a little fun, hopefully found a little wisdom in words that we often shut out. But then, speaking of shutting out, we listened to Mark's Gospel and heard Jesus once again talking to his disciples about his betrayal and death to come, rising again in 3 days. And they still weren't really quite getting it. And then he took a child and put it in their midst and invited them to welcome the child. And so we wondered about that today, what that means. It's so easy to fall into a sentimental, sweet Hollywood idea of the carefree, happy child, and Jesus is saying, what you do is you have to let go of your worries and your cares and be giggly and sweet and run around in a pinafore and look like Shirley Temple. Except that that's not really the experience of children. And when we think about our own childhoods, that wasn't our experience. If you think back to the first century, in a time when children were exposed to the elements to die if they weren't going to be of value to the family, when they were sold, where they were exploited. What Jesus is perhaps suggesting is that if we want to experience God's presence, if we want to really be in relationship with God, then we need to be as a child, which is to be vulnerable, to be out of power and control, to often be ignored and overlooked and hurt. We need to recognize that our success, our life, our fulfillment do not come from power or wealth. Children have none. They don't come from our ability to exert our will over that of the others. What we really need to do is to be with those who are marginalized and overlooked and hurt and vulnerable and afraid, like children. And we need to embrace within ourselves that child. We need to not hide our vulnerability and hide our hurt, but we need to be open and to share it and to recognize that we have no real power. Our power comes from God. Our value, our worth is not in the things that we accumulate and the things that we wield, but in fact our value and worth come from the fact that we are beloved children of God. We are part of creation. We're not responsible for power or wealth, and in fact we shouldn't pursue it as if it's going to make any difference, because our value comes from God. Our power comes from our ability to embrace our vulnerability and our hurt and our humanity. When Jesus says, "Come as a child," we are invited to be fully human, vulnerable and tiny in the face of a big, confusing world. But we're also assured that we are loved and that we are not alone and that we will function in that world. We might even change it. Not by pursuing the things the world holds up as goals and objects, but by recognizing the love that God offers us and invites us to share. That's what you missed at Jubilee. And some hymns, too. And we missed you. So hopefully we'll get to see you soon. If you're going to be with us next Sunday, you might want to wear an orange shirt. It's Orange Shirt Day. You'll learn more about that when you find yourself at Jubilee. But if we don't get to see you next week, I do hope we get to see you soon, because we miss you. Until we get to see you, God bless.